Today we'll be reviewing exponents. In Algebra 1, you should have learned 5 exponent rules. The first one we're going to talk about is the product rule. Now the product rule states if you have terms with the same base, in order to multiply those terms, you need to add the exponents. So here we have a base of x. We have x to the a times x to the b, and this is equal to x to the a plus b. Let's do an example. Here we have 7n to the 4th times 2n squared. So we will multiply our coefficients together. So 7 times 2 gives us 14. Then these two terms have the same base of n, so we'll add our exponents. 4 plus 2 gives us n to the 6th power. Now let's talk about the power rule. The power rule states if we have x to the a raised to the b power, we will multiply our exponents together. So here we have negative 4 at x to the 4th power, and we're cubing it. So here we have negative 4. We're going to cube that. So it's negative 4 times negative 4, which gives us negative 16. And then that gives us positive 16. And negative times negative gives us a positive. Positive 16 times negative 4 gives us negative 64. Then we have our variable term x. We're going to multiply these exponents. So 4 times 3 gives us x to the 12th power. Our next rule is the quotient rule. Quotient rule states if we have variables that we're dividing with the same base, so again x to the a divided by x to the b, we subtract our exponents. Now for our coefficients out in front, we'll actually divide those. So 27 divided by 42, well that won't divide to give us a whole integer, we'll have a remainder, so let's just simplify the fraction. So 27, we can divide that by 3 and get 9, and 42 we can divide by 3 and get 14. So we can simplify this to 9 over 14, 9/14. And then we'll subtract our exponents for variables with the same base. So here we have x to the 5th, and then in our denominator we have x squared. So 5 minus 2 gives us x to the 3rd power. And then for our y term, we have y cubed divided by y. Now y doesn't have an exponent written down, so remember, if we don't see an exponent, we know it's 1. We assume it's to the 1st power. So 3 minus 1 gives us y squared. Tried to make it better, but made it worse. Okay, that's a 2, y squared. So next we have the negative exponent rule. And the negative exponent rule states if we have x raised to the negative power, so x to the negative a power, this is really equal to 1 over x to the a. So if we're looking at our next example, we have 4 over 8. We can again simplify that fraction, and it's 1/2. Next, we just have a. We don't have an a in our denominator, so a is just going to stay the same. We're not dividing anything out. We're not going to use the quotient rule to subtract anything. It's just still a to the 1st power. Then we have b squared, b to the 5th power. So if we subtract, 2 minus 5 will give us b to the negative 3rd power. But we know it's not okay to leave our exponents negative. So we need to rewrite this using the quotient rule. So in our numerator, the only exponent we have that's positive is when our base is a. A is raised to the positive 1 power. So a goes in our numerator. Also along with this 1, it was 1/2, so 1 times a just gives us a. And 2, what's in our denominator of 1/2 goes to the denominator. We already took care of a, so last we have b to the negative 3rd power. So b we write in the denominator, and then that 3 is positive. Our last rule that we have is the 0 exponent rule. So x to the 0 power is equal to 1. Let's look at our example. Now we need to use the power rule first in our numerator. So it's 7, and then w4 squared. We will multiply those exponents using the power rule. So we get w to the 8th power divided by w to the 8th power. So here, if we use the quotient rule to subtract, 8 minus 8 gives us 7w to the 0 power. But anything to the 0 power is just 1, so it's 7 times 1, which is just 7. Let's see if I can rewrite it. 7 times 1, which just gives us 7. That's our final answer. You also, at this step, could have looked at it and said, okay, we have w to the 8th power divided by w to the 8th power. And remember, anything divided by itself is 1. 2 divided by 2 gives you 1. 3 divided by 3 gives you 1. W to the 8th power divided by w to the 8th power just gives you 1. So it's 7 times 1, which gives you 7. Okay, so that was our quick review of exponent rules. Now go ahead and review. I want you to practice by simplifying this completely. So if you need to, you can pause the video here. Go ahead and pause and simplify this expression. Okay, so now that you've paused the video and tried it on your own, let's check your work. So the first step here is I'm going to start by simplifying the inside of what's inside my grouping symbols. And I'll start even further by using the power rule here on what's inside the grouping symbols. That's raised to the negative second power. So 2 raised to the negative second power is really 1 over 2 squared, so that gives us 1/4. And then we multiply our exponents, so 4 times negative 2 gives us negative 8. Negative 3 times negative 2 gives us 6. I'm going to also use the power rule here, so 2 raised to the 4th power is 16. Then I'll multiply my exponents, so negative 1 times 4 gives us negative 4, and negative 2 times 4 gives us y to the negative 8. Everything's still raised to the 3rd power, and my denominator stayed the same. From here, I'm going to use the product rule in my numerator. Let's switch colors. I'll use the product rule in my numerator. So 1/4 times 16. 1/4 times 16 gives us 4. Then I'll add my exponents variables with the same base. So for x, we have x to the negative 8, x to the negative 4th. So negative 8 plus negative 4 gives us negative 12. And then for y, 6 plus negative 8, well, 6 minus 8 gives us y to the negative second power. Our denominator is still the same, 2x to the negative 7th power, y, to the negative 7th power, y to the negative 3rd power, and everything's still raised to the 3rd power. Next, we'll use our quotient rule to simplify what's inside of our grouping symbols. So here, 4 divided by 2, and I'm going to run out of room here, so I'm going to actually go to the side. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. Then we'll subtract our exponents. So x, negative 12 minus negative 7, so that's really negative 12 plus 7. So negative 12 plus 7 gives us x to the negative 5th power. And then y, negative 2 minus negative 3, well, negative 2 plus 3 gives us y to the 1st power. Let me rewrite that. And then it's still raised to the 3rd power. So next we're going to use the power rule. So 2 raised to the 3rd power, 2 times itself 3 times gives us 8. We'll multiply negative 5 times 3, negative 15. And y, remember there's no exponent, but we know it's 1. 1 times 3 gives us 3. This is not our final answer. We still need to use our negative exponent rules to rewrite this so that we don't have any negative exponents. So let's see, we have 8 that'll go in our numerator because it has a positive exponent, 8 to the 1st power. X to the negative 15th power, so that goes to the denominator, which becomes positive. And then y cubed is positive. So all of that, and this is our final answer. 8y to the 3rd divided by x to the 15th power. So that has been our review of the basic exponent rules that you learned in Algebra 1.